So let's talk about kiteboarding and when that really kind of took hold. Where did that really start? It didn't start here in the gorge. Was it in the ocean?
Yeah, it started. Sort of first really started in Hawaii. I mean, although there was a different style of, one of the pioneers of the sport was based here, and his designs didn't really take a foothold commercially like the inflatable kite that's the most common kite around now today. So they was here, and then the sport basically sort of took off from Maui and spread here and at the same time to the rest of the world. So.
Yeah. So when you were first exposed to kiting, were you? I know when I was skiing and snowboarding started coming in, it was sort of like I don't know. Did you sort of have any resistance, or did you think like, oh, that's really cool, I got to get into that?
There was a little bit of that vibe in the beginning. The first year or so, the guys would come over from Hawaii and ride here, and nobody was really doing it here yet, and there was a little bit of the us versus them mentality, but. It's another thing to do in the water and, use the wind and have fun. So everybody's sort of giving it a shot. And some people, a lot of my friends have, they only ride now and some of them still do both. So I think it worked itself out pretty well for everybody.
Yeah. Well, tell me about, the way that some of the places are designated for kiting, and explain why that really needs to be, or does it need to be?
In certain areas, it does need to be because of just the way the functionality of getting in and out of the water with a kite is very much different than it is with a windsurfing rig or pretty much any of the other water sports vehicles you see in the gorge. Because of the length of the lines and everything, there's it takes a decent amount of room to both get into the water and get out of the water with kite gear, and a lot of because naturally, what makes the gorge work is the shape of the gorge itself. So there's naturally, because of the walls of the gorge, there aren't a lot of places with a lot of room. And that's sort of what spurned some of the places, don't allow kiteboarding. Some of the places it's just nearly physically impossible to even, get a kite in the air. Now you have obviously the super high water now with the sandbar, and we can go in and out from the event site for a while. So everyone's working together really well, but I think just the functionality of entering and exiting the water is what sort of spurned those guidelines in the beginning.
Okay, all right. How long did it take you to convert from windsurfing to kiteboarding?
Well, I still haven't totally converted.
Yeah.
I kind of do. I don't get to do either one as much as I would like anymore, but probably it was, I think the first time, my first kite actually I had was a Nash kite. It was an old AR-35, so it was a 2-line kite. So it was one of the very early, very, very early kites that was available in the market. And I spent some time doing it, and like anything else, as you grow up, you seem to have less time for the fun stuff. So I don't get to do as much as often, either one as often as I would like, but
right.
Try to get out when I can.
Yeah. Well, tell me then about, because it's Pacific Board Sports.
That's correct.
And so you manage that, you're the general manager of that. And what does that entail? What do you guys, sort of give me the picture of that operation? What
we do is we're the distributor for all Nash products for North America and for the Caribbean.
Okay.
So if you were to, walk into a store, for example, like if you went into Big Winds in Hood River, and you want to buy a Nash stand-up board or a Nash kite board or a Nash windsurf board, that we're their source for that product. We're the ones that bring it into the country and then resell it to the dealer base, and then they in turn resell it to the end user or the consumer like yourself or whomever else it would be. So
okay. So is Pacific Board Sports actually owned by Robbie Nash?
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so it is his company.
Yeah.
So he's your boss.
Yeah.
Do you get to spend time with him?
Yeah, a fair bit. I'm actually going. We have a meeting every year in Maui, which everyone kind of always says, "Oh, bummer, you have to go to Maui." But I'm actually going there this weekend for about a week. So we have our sales meeting there, and we usually have a couple other, meetings across the country and a couple international ones throughout the year. So we don't spend a lot of time together, but we're in pretty close communication throughout the year and all that.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Pacific Board Sports, the one that's in Bingen, White Salmon area, is that the only location that he has then for distributing out? It is.
Yeah,
okay.
that's where our main offices are. We have a couple of other places where we warehouse some product, but the office where everything happens, I mean, that's where the entire staff is based, or our customer service staff, all that stuff is all based there in White Salmon.
Okay. How often does Robbie Nash come to the gorge these days?
Usually a couple times a year.
Really? So he still gets out on the water here?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah?
He spends plenty of time on the water, everywhere. But,
okay.
Yeah, over here, he's probably here a couple times a year, I think.
So how did you end up in doing what you're doing now?
Well, I sort of backed into it, I guess you could. I mean, not to sell myself short, but I guess I'll just come clean. I kind of backed into it. I'd heard, I've been involved in the, obviously the wind sports and the action sports industry for a long time, and heard that the distribution might be, changing a little bit for the Nash product line, and it was probably in the summer of 2006. So I called a guy I knew that worked there, and I asked him kind of, what's going on? What are you guys doing? And didn't really think anything of it, and nothing really came of it. I just kind of wanted to know. I was a little bit curious to see kind of what was happening, and he and Robbie called me back a month or so later and said, hey, I think maybe we can get together and talk. We have this plan. And
had you ever met him before at this point?
Yeah, once or twice, although really, really, really very
casually.
Really, really briefly. So, he would have had a hard time picking me out of a lineup, I'm sure. Although he's very good at remembering people's faces and names. I don't know how he does it, but we kind of got together and spent some time with each other on a couple different occasions, and they decided that I was the guy they wanted to have try to get the thing going. So
that's great.
Yeah,
and that was in 2006?
Yeah, it was. Pacific Board Sports opened on November 1st in 2006. So
okay, so you were there from the beginning. All right.
Yeah.
So you were influential probably then in bringing stand-up paddleboarding in. You had a part of that.
Yeah.
Or was that already kind of 2006? Was that kind of in place a little bit?
It really wasn't. I mean, our first product year with that was probably late in 2007.
Okay.
So it was, everybody knew kind of that there was the sport called stand-up paddleboarding that a few people were doing, and I mean, now it's well off the ground, and it's definitely a standalone sport.
Right.
But in the beginning, it was a lot of people using canoe paddles and tandem surfboards and all that. But it's evolved fairly rapidly into a really, really big category in water sports.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we'll be right back more with Charlie, and we'll discuss the future of some of these water sports. So stick with us. Be right back.
Coming up,
the gear is all very high tech, made of state-of-the-art materials and all that. So, but I think there's some perception from both sides of the fence, against the other sport. And again, it's easy to pick out the diehards. That they always seem to be the ones that have the most to say about the other who's ever in the other camp.